10 is the cosmic ray. In 2020, it was announced that a group of NASA scientists working on an experiment in Antarctica had detected evidence of a parallel universe where the rules of physics are the opposite of our own, according to a report. A cosmic ray detection experiment has found particles that could be from a parallel realm that was also born in the Big Bang. The experts used a giant balloon to carry NASA's Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA, high above Antarctica, where the frigid dry air provided the perfect environment with little to no radio noise to distort its findings. A constant wind of high-energy particles constantly arrives on Earth from outer space. Low-energy subatomic neutrinos with a mass close to zero can pass completely through Earth, but higher-energy objects are stopped by the solid matter of our planet. This means the high-energy particles can only be detected coming down from space, but the team's ANITA detected heavier particles which come up out of the Earth. Now, the finding implies that these particles are actually traveling backwards in time, suggesting evidence of a parallel universe. Now, is there an actual portal here where you can just jump through? No, not really, but it's still pretty cool. Number 9. The Hadron Collider. The Large Hadron Collider, LHC, is the world's largest and highest energy particle collider. It was built by the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, between 1998 and 2008 in collaboration with over 10,000 scientists and hundreds of universities and laboratories across more than 100 countries. Between 2013 and 2015, the LHC was shut down and upgraded, and at the end of 2018 it was shut down for maintenance and further upgrades, reopening over 3 years later in April 2022. Now that it's up and running, it's breaking records for the highest energy particle collisions ever performed. The teams involved are searching for more information on the so-called God particle, the Higgs boson, and signs of dark matter. And this machine could test for other dimensions. Now, how could they test for extra dimensions? Well, one option would be to find evidence of particles that can exist only if extra dimensions are real. Theories that suggest extra dimensions predict that, in the same way atoms have low energy ground state and excited high energy states, there would be heavier versions of standard particles in other dimensions. Now, these heavier versions of particles, called Kaluza-Klein states, would have exactly the same properties as standard particles and so be visible to our detectors, but with a greater mass. Now, such heavy particles can only be revealed at the high energies reached by the LHC, so we could potentially find out if there are indeed other dimensions. Number 8. The Houska Castle. The Houska Castle is located in the forests of North Prague and is one of the most haunted places in the world. According to legend, on this exact spot, there was a huge hole in the ground that was considered to be the gateway to hell. Paranormal activities were disturbing the region, and the Bohemians thought they could solve the problems if they covered the hole, and that's why they built the castle. This gateway to hell was allegedly so deep that no one could see the bottom of it. Animal-human hybrids were reported to have crawled out of it, and dark-winged otherworldly creatures flew in its vicinity. Legend has it that when construction began in the castle, all of the prisoners that were sentenced to death were often pardoned if they consented to be lowered by rope into the hole and report back on what they saw. When the first person was lowered, he began screaming after a few seconds, and when pulled back to the surface, he looked as if he had aged 30 years. He had grown wrinkles and his hair had turned white, and he babbled incoherently about half-human creatures who flap through the darkness with grotesque wings. Today, witnesses report several different forms of paranormal activities, and some even claim that the site contains remains of demonic beasts who escaped the pit. It seems like they may not have closed the portal all the way, but this is one place I would not want to visit. Number 7. Mount Shasta. There's a well-known legend that says that somewhere deep beneath Northern California's 14,179-foot tall Mount Shasta is a complex of tunnels and a hidden city called Telos, the ancient city of light for the Lemurians. They were the residents of the mythical lost continent of Lemura, which met its demise under the waves of the Pacific thousands of years ago. Lemurians believed to have survived the catastrophe and are said to have settled in Telos, and over the years their offspring have been sporadically reported wandering around the area, 7 feet tall with long flowy hair, often clad in sandals and white robes. Lemurians aren't the only unusual figures said to inhabit this place though. Mount Shasta is believed to be a home base for the lizard people too, reptilian humanoids that also reside underground. The mountain is a hotspot of UFO sightings, and one of the most recent of which occurred in February 2020. So with all of that, how are they coming into Earth? A portal, of course. Number 6. Skinwalker Ranch. You may have seen a TV ad for the show The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and let me tell you, this place has an extreme presence of paranormal activity. The inhabitants of Skinwalker Ranch may have reported slightly different stories over the years, but they have a few things in common. Since the 1950s, there have been hundreds of reports of UFOs and unexplained phenomena in the Uinta Basin, and not just at Skinwalker. Neighbors of the ranch report seeing various types of bright lights in the sky, often appearing as a shape that looks like a doorway or portal. Others report giant flying objects, cattle mutilations are common too, and some neighbors have reported seeing cows that appear to have been struck by lightning with no sign of scorched earth to be found. One group shared a story of trying to spot a UFO one night, only to return to find that their car had been moved without a trace of tire tracks in the desert sand. And obviously there have been sightings of skinwalkers there. Now, where are all these creatures coming from? A secret portal? I think so. Number 5. Hoia Baciu Forest. This forest is located in Romania and it just looks creepy. It's filled with crooked trees contorted into strange shapes. Now, it's known as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, and I feel like that tells you a lot. The ancient Hoia Baciu Forest is named after a shepherd who disappeared into the woods along with his 200 sheep over a century ago. They were never seen again. But there are more recent disappearances as well, and there has been no evidence to where these people went, just that they went poof. Now, there have also been many reports of UFO sightings, ghost encounters, and unexplainable illnesses. There are many legends and stories about this forest, but perhaps the creepiest being about a young girl who disappeared, only to emerge 5 years later with no recollection of what happened. How something like that could happen, I have no idea, but that truly scares me. You will never find me strolling around this forest ever. Number 4. Black holes. In the vast expanse of space, black holes are objects with an incredibly strong gravitational pull that not even light can escape from. They are formed when massive stars collapse under their own gravity. Black holes, despite their mysterious nature, play a crucial role in shaping the cosmos. Their immense gravitational influence affects the fabric of space-time itself, warping it in ways that scientists are still trying to comprehend. As black holes possess immense gravitational pull, they provide the necessary conditions for the existence of wormholes, shortcuts through space-time that could connect two distant points or even two separate universes. While traversing these wormholes remains purely theoretical and highly speculative, the possibility of black holes acting as doorways to other universes unveils an extraordinary realm of possibilities. Now, does anyone want to volunteer with me and see if this does work? I want to know. Number 3. Dreams. What happens when we dream? Where do we go? Some believe it's a spiritual realm where we can jump to unknown universes and timelines. It's been a big discussion on TikTok right now where women are talking about how in dreams they've had a baby and family, and when they wake up it's all gone, but it felt so real and they long for their family back. Well, their dream family back. I think this was them in a different dimension and them being ripped back into ours. Have you ever heard of lucid dreaming? Well, it said that lucid dreaming lets you access different planes of existence and that you can go to different dimensions. But be careful, because not all the dimensions are safe. Now, unfortunately, I do not know how to lucid dream, but I've heard it's pretty cool as long as you do it responsibly. Number 2. Pelham Township. In York County, Pennsylvania, there is an urban legend that entails the 7 gates of hell. These are physical gates that appear to the human eye as you pass through and discover each one. Legend has it anyone who reached the 5th gate was never seen again. It's said to be in the wooded area off Trout Run in the northwestern part of Pelham. There are many different rumors of the 7 gates of hell, including one about an asylum where people were trapped and died. The mental asylum was isolated from the rest of the public because it housed such insane patients. Then one day back in the 1800s, a fire started and consumed many of the patients. Some patients escaped but were beaten to death when found. Legend has it the gates were put up by a local search party to trap any remaining patients of the mental asylum. Now, it's said that the first gate, which is the only gate out of all 7 that could be seen during the daytime, is located in a wooded area along Trout Run Road. Now, the other 6 are said to only be visible at night. Now, is this real? I don't know, but if you find out, please let me know. And coming in at number 1 is mirrors. Mirrors are thought to be portals to another another world, some believe this is another dimension, but those who believe in ghosts believe it is a portal to the other side. That's why in ghost hunting shows, you see the investigators freak out when there are two mirrors facing each other, because it's an easy access way for spirits to enter the physical world. Now many cultures still hold on to their superstitions that exist concerning mirrors, ghosts, souls, and death. The act of covering your mirror overnight is something that is done in multiple cultures and across many beliefs worldwide. Personally, I believe in this. I refuse to sleep in front of a mirror, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And who could forget the movie Us? It's a big nope from me, and the fact that anyone can make a mirror portal, I don't like the sound of that.
Well, starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is the mecca when it comes to mysterious disappearances and rumors and urban legends, so of course it had to make it onto this list. The triangle, which sits in between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda, earned its deadly reputation starting back in the 1970s. Since then, there has been about 80 aircrafts and 60 boats that have gone missing in the triangle, which only fueled rumors that there was some sort of force or supernatural cause that was making this area one where people would often go missing. There have been intense electrical forces and tunnel-like clouds reported in the triangle, which some believe is the cause for the disappearances, some others believe it's weather patterns, some believe it's the entrance to a parallel universe or a place where aliens like to abduct their victims, and some people like to dismiss the idea that there's any sort of mystery at all. At this point, exactly what is going on with the Bermuda Triangle remains a mystery. In our number 9 spot today we have the Oregon Vortex. Just off of Interstate 5 in southern Oregon lies what is called the Oregon Vortex. According to local legend, it is said that this area and the strange and mysterious stories surrounding it aren't just modern legends, but that perhaps it stems back further. People have said that the stories of the Oregon Vortex actually stem back to when Indigenous Americans referred to it as the Forbidden Land. It is said that during these times, people traveling on horses would often find that their horses would be refusing to go into the area, so clearly something strange was going on in there that was spooking the animals. Scientists have speculated that the land might contain some kind of crossed magnetic lines that produce some sort of force field, but whatever it really is, the place is truly strange. Things appear very differently here. It's sort of like an optical illusion. The area is basically a parallel universe in itself. In our number 8 spot today we have the Challenger Deep. The Challenger Deep is the deepest known point in our ocean, around 10,900 meters deep. It is located in the Pacific Ocean in the southern part of the Mariana Trench, and because of its location, lack of light, and immense pressure, it hasn't been explored very much. The extreme environment has certainly set up for there to be a whole host of species that we know absolutely nothing about, but it is not an area that can be easily explored by humans. The Challenger Deep has only been visited 4 times, and only for short periods of time, so there is so much more that is waiting to be uncovered at this deep, dark part of our ocean, and I don't know about you, but I feel like there are insane amounts of ocean creatures that could fully be aliens. They are so strange and interesting and unique, so who in the world knows what really lurks down there. In our number 7 spot today we have Point Nemo. I'm sure there's a few of us out there who dream of time alone, away from other people, and Point Nemo is exactly that. It's like a parallel universe where if you were to visit, you'd feel like you were the only person on Earth. This is the most remote location on Earth. It's officially known as the oceanic hole of inaccessibility because it is the furthest point away from land. This area is surrounded by more than 1,000 miles of ocean in every direction. There are obviously no humans who live even close to Point Nemo, which is why it is called that in the first place, Nemo being Latin for no one. This location is so isolated that the closest people to Nemo aren't even on this Earth. Since the inhabited areas closest to the point is over 1,000 miles away, the humans aboard the ISS are way closer than anyone on land. Truly just wild. Kind of sounds like a dream, kind of sounds like a nightmare. In our number 6 spot today we have Kawah Ijen. Located in Indonesia, this is one of the most remarkable and interesting places on Earth. Firstly, this active volcano emits hot, flammable sulfurous gases. These gases ignite as they enter the oxygen-rich atmosphere of Earth, and this causes them to burn with a stunning blue flame. Further scientific processes also allows for there to be a flow of molten sulfur that also has that same striking blue flame. At night is really when you get quite a show from this coloring, as it quite literally looks like a flow of blue lava. The other incredible thing about this location is that there is a 1 kilometer wide caldera that is filled with turquoise blue water. The watercolor, while it looks gorgeous, is a result of extreme acidity as well as a high concentration of dissolved metals. It is an astonishing place to look at and really is quite magnificent. In our number 5 spot today we have the Devil's Kettle. This area is said to hold one of Minnesota's greatest mysteries. As the Brule River flows through in order to make its way toward Lake Superior, there is a point where it makes an 800-foot drop in 8 miles. Because of this journey through time, waterfalls have been created as the water erodes the rocky terrain. One waterfall in particular is the one that we want to talk about today. The stream splits into two as it falls over the edge. One of the two streams flows exactly how you would think it does, while the other is a little more mysterious. On this side, the water rushes into a cavern that seems to go nowhere. The cavern never fills up somehow, but no one can figure out where the water is going. It's a strange phenomena that has resulted in the fall gaining the nickname the Devil's Kettle. It is said that people have tried to place things in the water that might help show them where the water is flowing to, but despite these efforts, the items were just never seen again. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Pyramids of Giza. One of the most mysterious places on Earth has to be the Pyramids of Giza. I mean, how? For centuries, people have wondered and tried to find answers as to how they were built at all, let alone with limited resources and without the use of modern technology. And they've been around for the last 4,000 years, so the durability alone is outstanding. This alone is the source of much mystery, but that's only the outside of them. What lies on the inside might just be even more so. The Pyramids of Giza, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza, were believed to have been built as tombs for rulers and other wealthy people. That totally makes sense, except for the fact that there hasn't been any mummies found inside of them. Instead, there is just a plethora of secret, unexplored rooms, hidden doors and mirrors, you know, just regular ancient Egypt stuff. Many of these secret rooms remain completely unexplored over fear of damage. One more strange thing about these incredible creations, before we move on though, they were built on the center of the Earth. However they did this, they aligned them perfectly with Orion's belt, with no technology, just pure brilliance. I'm just saying, if anywhere is going to take you to a parallel universe, these pyramids will take you back in time to a completely different world. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Crooked Forest. Forests are already creepy. This one looks like it's straight out of a Tim Burton film. The Crooked Forest in Poland. There's around 400 odd-shaped pine trees near the town Gryfino. These trees are about 90 years old, and all of them, from the base, they immediately bend towards the north and then slowly curve back towards the sky like the other trees. Despite the odd bend, these trees are otherwise healthy. There's been so many theories, but none of them really stick. Some suggest it was a gravitational anomaly, but that's a little too far-fetched for me. I don't know. This isn't Interstellar, right? Other theories claim that there were heavy snowfalls that would weigh down the branches, which could check out, but why is it just a select amount? I've also lived in Canada my entire life. We have lots of snow, and I've never seen a Sleepy Hollow tree before. My favorite theory is that farmers were trying to make the tree curved on purpose to make stronger wheels, because the grain direction would make for naturally curved wheels. Again though, nobody knows for sure. What are your thoughts? Do we like the wheel theory? I'm just gonna keep a spare tree tire just in case. Keep it stored safely in the trunk. Okay, jokes. I'm funny. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Catatumbo River. Basically, in western Venezuela, right over the Catatumbo River, there are these insane, intense lightning storms, and it's a complete atmospheric phenomenon. This lightning occurs 140 to 160 nights a year, 9 hours per day, and from 16 to 40 times per minute. That is absolutely insane. That is so much lightning. Another thing that's so fascinating about this lightning is that it is colorful, and it doesn't produce any thunder. The lightning does change its frequency up from time to time, and at one point it stopped for a few weeks, and people thought that maybe it was going to have been exhausted forever, but that changed when the lightning came back, putting it right back on our list of mysteries that we just can't quite figure out. Many people have studied the lightning, trying to figure out how exactly it has been created and what makes this phenomena what it is, but we just aren't quite sure yet. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Reverse Waterfall. This mysterious and strange location is another one that comes from India. Here there is a waterfall, but it's got a catch. While we all of course expect to see water cascading down when we think of a waterfall, this strange location instead sees the water moving towards the sky. Some people believe it's because of some anti-gravitational force, others think it's due to the heavy air pressure, and I'm not a scientist, so I'll let you decide. While this is certainly quite a strange place, it also definitely delivers when it comes to beauty. I think even if the water flowed down like a normal waterfall, this area would still see a lot of tourists just because of the immense natural beauty.
Coming in at number 10 is Yosemite National Park. With more than 750 150 miles of trail, Yosemite National Park is a vast unspoiled wilderness, making it a hiker's dream. But if someone disappears, sending a search team is a nightmare. Now at the moment there are 13 people still missing there, the disappearances ranging from 1972 to 2021. Now one disappearance is the case of Michael Fiercy. He was an outdoorsman, so why did he get lost and never be found? We don't know. In 2005 he decided to hike solo through Yosemite National Park. He had once cracked an ankle at Yellowstone, having to crawl all the way out of the wilderness, so when the outdoorsman failed to return from his adventure after his permit expired and his family expected him home, they feared the worst. Now the search for Fiercy was so massive that the United States Marines were involved. They found one thing belonged to him, his backpack. Now it contained his map, water, and camera. Now his friends and family were even more concerned at this point because they believed that Fiercy would never willingly leave his bag at any time during a hike. Now unfortunately, in the 16 years that have passed, not another trace of Fiercy has been found. With someone so experienced, I find this disappearance to be suspicious. Number 9. Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Dennis Martin was on a camping trip at Great Smoky Mountains National Park with his family in the summer of 1969. Dennis and his brothers had planned a prank. They were going to hide separately in the bush and jump out on different sides of the campsite to scare their fathers. They did the prank, but they realized that Dennis was missing. Family, park rangers, and other hikers spread out to search for Dennis almost immediately, but he was nowhere to be found. That evening there was heavy rainfall, which is bad news when you're trying to track someone. The search for Dennis became the largest in National Park Service history. Dennis seemed to have disappeared completely, leaving no trace at all. Now people's disappearances at national parks have prompted people to question how a map of missing persons in the US lines up with America's largest cave systems. Are these people disappearing and being taken to these caves by cave people, animals, or some sort of creature? And are the caves portals to parallel universes? Who knows? Number 8. San Bernardino National Forest. David Gonzalez went camping with his family in San Bernardino National Forest. At one point he asked his mother if he could go get some cookies from the family car, but 40 minutes passed and his mother realized that David never returned and the cookies he wanted to grab were still inside the car. Now he was never found alive again. His death is viewed as one of the strange disappearances in national parks. A week after missing, his badly decomposed body was found only a mile away from where he went missing. Now this area was already combed days prior, so this means that he must have been dropped there by someone or something. An autopsy revealed no trauma and no overt injury. He was just dead without any reason or clue as to why. Now this is already baffling, but what makes the case of David so strange is not his disappearance alone, it's the way the local authorities and investigators seem to handle the case. The officials claim that David was dragged off by a mountain lion, despite no injuries that would suggest that be his fate. Nobody nearby heard David scream either. Now David's parents had gone on record to say that they don't believe David got dragged off by a cougar. They believe that he was kidnapped and that he still may be alive somewhere and that the body wasn't his. Now is this sounding exactly like Stranger Things to anyone else? Maybe he got sucked into the upside down with Will and is fighting against a demogorgon. Number 7. Grand Canyon National Park. At least 56 people have been reported missing from Grand Canyon National Park since the beginning of 2018, and at least 6 people have been found dead. Now this is despite the park not only being smaller, but seeing millions fewer visitors than many of the other 424 national park sites. While the park is beautiful, a New York Post investigation recently found it is also the deadliest national park in the country, with the most number of missing persons in the nation. On June 2nd, 2015, Morgenheimer was working for Tour West, a commercial rafting company, and he was a guide for an 8-day rafting trip along the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon. While standing near a cliff, Morgan spoke with the lead rafting guide and mentioned something about taking some time off that afternoon. The lead guide was pulled away by a client during this conversation and walked away from the cliff to speak with them. When the guide looked back to the direction that Morgan was standing, he was gone. Now the guide just assumed that Morgan had taken a break and would be back, but Morgan was never seen again. During the afternoon and into the evening, Morgan never showed up for the group's activities. A member of the group then reported Morgan missing that same day. Park rangers and search and rescue teams thoroughly searched the river and surrounding areas. The search lasted for 6 days before it was assumed that Morgan must have drowned. Now his body has never turned up, and there was no trace that he was still alive after June 2nd, 2015. Number 6. Chiricahua National Monument. On January 13th, 1980, Ranger Paul Fugate disappeared from what should have been a routine hike in Arizona's Chiricahua National Monument. Paul, who was last seen heading out to do a trail trek around 2 p.m., told a coworker that they could start closing duties without him if he wasn't back by 4:30 p.m. He was then seen starting down the trailhead, and that was the last any person spoke to him or saw him. His girlfriend alerted authorities, who undertook a search for him. They first assumed that he had been a victim of an accident and was injured or stranded in the backcountry. However, as the investigation continued and no traces were found, suspicions began to arise. No trace of Paul has ever been found since that day in 1980. Now, to make things even more difficult, Chiricahua has 17 square miles of canyons, treacherous terrain, and wildlands. Now, the search and rescue teams found absolutely nothing related to the park ranger. Number 5. Nahanni National Park Reserve. Now, this is a strange case. Over the decades, many unfortunate travelers and explorers have gone missing, or they turned up dead and beheaded in the Nahanni Valley. Now, the number of decapitated bodies found within the Nahanni Valley have earned it the nickname Valley of Headless Men. In 1917, Martin Jorgensen's body was discovered decapitated next to the remains of his cabin as it was burned to the ground. It is suspected that he struck gold in the vicinity as he wrote of it back home before ending up beheaded. Then in 1931, another body was found. This time it was that of Phil Powers. His charred remains were discovered in ashes of what were his cabin. The RCMP were quick to attribute his death to a faulty stovepipe, but their explanation was repeatedly debunked by various sources. Now, many others simply disappeared without a trace in the remote wilderness of the valley. In 1928, one prospector named Angus Hall ventured ahead of his party and was never seen again. Another pair of prospectors, Joe Mulholland and Bill Ipper, disappeared in 1936. Now, for many years they were searched for but were never found. The only thing discovered was their cabin, burnt down to the ground. Why are so many people going missing in this specific area, and why are their cabins being burnt down? Number 4. Mount Charleston in Humboldt-Toiyabe National Forest. Larry Jeffrey disappeared near the peak of a 12,000-foot Mount Charleston in Humboldt-Toiyabe National Forest. Now, the search began immediately after the boy wandered away from his brothers, and within days the National Guard and a team of bloodhounds had joined the search. In a TV interview, David Paulies told reporter George Knapp that there were no predators afoot that day, and since the area they were in was pretty secluded, it's easy to rule out abduction by car. This boy just walked into oblivion, David said. Now, when Jeffrey disappeared, he was wearing light clothing, and authorities were doubtful that he could survive the cold temperatures at night. Now, searchers found and lost the trail a few times, and they discovered evidence that the boy had been eating insects and forged berries along the way. Overall, 1,000 people searched for 16 days but never found him. It appears that he just went poof, maybe into an alternate dimension. Perhaps. Number 3. Ozark National Park. In the 1940s, a girl named Catherine Van Alst went missing while camping at Ozark National Park with her family. She was barefoot and wearing only her swimsuit when she disappeared. Now, searches were conducted high and low for the missing girl, but it wasn't until 6 days later that she was found. Now, the catch: she was still barefoot, still in her swimsuit, and totally unharmed. She was alive. Now, she'd also traveled over 30 miles and climbed 600 feet without getting a scratch on her. She wasn't even scared. Now, no one, including her, has ever been able to explain it. Could she have gotten trapped in a portal and somehow made her way back to our world? That could be one explanation for sure. Number 2. Santa Fe National Forest. Santa Fe National Forest in New Mexico has bizarre wooden structures all throughout the forest. Now, no one knows who made them or why. The structures range in size but have all been constructed out of fallen trees and limbs, with some reaching over 20 feet tall and dozens of feet in diameter. They don't seem to have a pattern as to their locations, they simply just appear. Now, they do have a few things in common though. They resemble teepees, though no one can actually live inside them, and the Forest Service has no idea who is building them or why, but their response so far has been to dismantle any that are found. The destruction of these mystery structures is to eliminate the forest fire threat that they create. The Santa Fe National Park Service has issued a press release asking for any information about the mystery structures, and according to the release, these structures are prohibited under federal law and violators could face a fine up to $5,000 and possible imprisonment for 6 months. Now, does this have to do with cults? Can these structures transport you to another dimension? I guess we'll have to see. And coming in at number 1 is Green Mountain National Forest. The Vermont State Police exists because of Paula Jean Weldon. Now, Paula Weldon was a student at Vermont's Bennington College and was familiar with the Green Mountain National Forest to the east of her college town. Now, according to Bennington Banner, Paula set off for the trail on December 1st, 1946, telling her roommate, "I'm off for a long walk," and she was wearing relatively light clothing. Now, she apparently hitchhiked to the trail with local Louis Knapp, who gave a ride to a young woman matching her description. He dropped her off near the trail, and the last known person to see her was a washman named Ernie Whiteman, who warned her about going into the cold landscape. Once it became clear that Paula had gone into the forest but hadn't left, a search was organized, but it was to no avail. Now, Paula was actually one of 6 people who were reported missing near Bennington from 1945 to 1950. Now, their still unsolved disappearances helped to earn the nickname of Bennington Triangle for the area. Coming in at number 10 is the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle covers about 500,000 square miles of ocean off the southeastern tip of Florida. It's a section of the Atlantic Ocean roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, where dozens of ships and airplanes have disappeared. Unexplained circumstances surround this area, as it's known that compasses have malfunctioned here back when Christopher Columbus was sailing the world. Now, some speculate that unknown and mysterious forces account for the unexplained disappearances, such as extraterrestrials capturing humans for study, the influence of the lost continent of Atlantis, and vortexes that suck objects into other dimensions. There have been so many planes and ships that have gone missing over the area, with people on them suddenly just going poof. Now, where did all those people go? I think to another dimension. Number 9, the Gates of Guinea. According to voodoo mythology, the newly dead are sent to a kind of purgatory before traveling to meet their ancestors in the deep waters. Known as Guinea, this realm is presided over by the notorious Loa, who goes by the name of Baron Samedi. There are tales of voodoo practitioners opening the gates of Guinea to reclaim the souls of the dead. Now, souls in this lost land are considered to be at high risk from hoodoo magicians, who have the power to reanimate them as zombies. Yeah. Zombies. While some followers of voodoo interpret the 7 gates as a spiritual metaphor, others believe them to exist in the physical realm. Now, one of these stories locates the gates in New Orleans. To enter Guinea, it is said that one must open the 7 gates in the correct order. Each successive gate is presided over by one of the Loa of Death, who must be appeased with the appropriate offerings. Now, although the exact location of the gates have never been disclosed, there have been suggestions over the years that the clue may lie in the Vive, or summoning signal of Baron Samedi himself. Appearing as a crucifix surmounted by 7 stars, the symbol might be a map of some kind and once aligned over the crossroads of Canal Street and Bazin Street in the city's French Quarter, as the stars of the Veve seem to fall on notable surrounding cemeteries. Number 8, the Alaska Triangle. This remote area is infamous for alien abductions, Bigfoot sightings, and paranormal phenomena and vanishing airplanes. Like much of Alaska, the triangle contains some of the most rugged, unforgiving wilderness in North America. It's an impossible vast expanse of dense forests, craggy mountain peaks, alpine lakes, and large swaths of plain old wilderness. Now, with all this, it's no shock that people go missing. What is surprising, however, is the sheer number of people who go missing. Add to the fact that many disappear without a shred of evidence, and bodies, alive or dead, are rarely found. More than 16,000 people, including airplane passengers, hikers, locals, and tourists, have disappeared within the Alaska Triangle since 1988. The rate per 1,000 people is more than twice the national missing person average, and the rate of people who are never found is even higher. Now, the numbers don't lie, and they imply that something else is going on here than people merely getting lost in the mountains. Is it a portal taking people to another world? I think so. Number 7. Houska Castle. The Houska Castle is located in the forest north of Prague and is one of the most haunted places in the world. According to the legend, on this exact spot, there was a huge hole in the ground that was considered to be the gateway to hell. Paranormal activities were disturbing the region, and the Bohemians thought they would solve their problems if they covered the hole, so that's why they built the castle. Now, no one actually wanted to build this castle and get close to the portal, so they used prisoners to help. Hundreds of prisoners were forced to go into the pit to build the foundation for the castle. However, when they were taken out of the hole, they all looked like old men. The first prisoner lasted only a few seconds before he began screaming. When he was pulled back up, the story goes, his hair had turned white, and it seemed like he'd aged 30 years, and he babbled incoherently about half-human creatures who flapped through the darkness of grotesque wings. Now today, witnesses report several different forms of paranormal activities, and some even claim that the site contains remains of demonic beasts who escaped from the pit. Number 6. Gate of the Sun. Believed by some to be a portal to the land of the gods, the Gate of the Sun in Bolivia shares much of its legends with other similar sites. Tiwanaku is a city said to be one of the most important sites of ancient America, with legends stating that the sun god Viracocha appeared in Tiwanaku and made it the place of creation, the place he chose to start the human race. Carved from one block of stone and thought to be 14,000 years old, the gateway displays what appears to be human beings with rectangular helmets. Now, this has led many researchers to state the purpose of the gate is indeed connected to something astronomical. The top middle of the arch features a carving of the supposed sun god and shows what looks to be rays of light appearing behind and forcing their way all around all sides of the deity's head. Although it now stands upright, when it was found by European explorers in the mid-1800s, it was said to have been lying horizontally. It also appears to have a large crack on the top right of the arch, and it is unknown how this happened. Number 5. Sedona Vortexes. Sedona, a small town in Arizona, was once known by the Native American tribes as Nawanda, and at one time the most sacred city to them. It is said that the red rocks of the desert that surround the small town can create vortexes with the capability of transporting people to another realm or dimension. Native Americans believe that these rocks were spiritually charged, while sounds emanating from them have been reported. In the 1950s, a local tribesman was aiding treasure hunters who were searching for gold in the mountains. He told them a story of his people, dating it back to the 1800s, of 3 tribesmen who had discovered the archway while riding in the desert. The story goes that when one of them walked through, he simply disappeared. The helpful tribesman stated he had also seen a strange incident at the alleged doorway. While out in the desert, a sudden rainstorm hit the area and turned the skies gray with clouds. Now, as he turned to leave, he caught a glimpse of the archway and saw that the skies through the arch were clear blue. He walked closer to it, seeing that the archway's image of the mountain range was the same and the only difference was the sky. However, he too became scared, mounted his horse, and returned home. Number 4. The Bennington Triangle. Located in the southwestern part of Vermont, this landlocked triangular area is notorious for a string of unexplained disappearances that occurred there. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people disappeared in the Bennington Triangle. Now, the shocking thing is 4 out of the 5 missing people were never found. The only person found was Frida Langer. On October 28, 1950, Frida and her cousin Herbert Elsner left their family campsite near the Somerset Reserve to go on a hike. During the journey, she slipped and fell into a stream, and she told Herbert if he would wait, she would go back to the campsite, change clothes, and catch up to him. Now, when she did not return, Herbert made his way back to the campsite and discovered that Frida had not returned and that nobody had seen her since they left. Over the next 2 weeks, 5 searches were conducted involving aircraft, helicopters, and up to 300 searchers. No trace of Frida was found during the search, and then on May 12, 1951, Frida's body was found 3.5 miles from the campsite in the eastern branch of the Deerfield River, an area that had been searched 7 months previously. No cause of death could be determined because of the condition of her remains, and it appears that the Bennington Triangle will always remain a mystery. Number 3. The Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel is a 140-room colonial revival hotel about 5 miles from the entrance to Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, the Stanley Hotel inspired the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King's 1977 best-selling novel, The Shining. Now, the owner died in 1940, but many believe his presence can still be seen and felt at the hotel, mainly at the bar and in the billiard room. The ghost of his wife Flora has a habit for tinkering around on the hotel's piano, according to multiple accounts. Now, the 4th floor is the most haunted, with guests hearing children's laughter in the hall with no one to be found. Down the Hall in room 407, multiple guests have reported being tucked into bed by some invisible force, and others have felt someone sit on the foot of the bed only to find nothing there. In room 428, some have had the vision of a cowboy looming over the bed as they slept or standing in the corner. Now, how do all these ghosts get in there? Well, it's the portal in the hotel. When you enter the hotel, there is a staircase landing filled with paintings and mirrors facing each other. Now, if you don't know, it's said if you put two mirrors in front of each other, they create a portal to another world. Why would anyone place two mirrors in front of each other? For the portal, of course, and that's exactly what they did at the Stanley Hotel. Number 2, the Devil's Sea. In the Pacific Ocean south of Tokyo, Japan, lies a treacherous stretch of water that has been nicknamed the Devil's Sea. Due to a string of vessels and fishing boats that have disappeared, many compare it to the Bermuda Triangle. Now, the most famous of these disappearances happened in 1953 when a research fishery ship called the Kyotomoro No. 5, which consisted of 31 crew members and scientists combined, sailed into the area to investigate a recently formed volcanic island. Unfortunately, the vessel never returned from its voyage with no traces left of it, or the crew for that matter. With so many people missing there too, there has to be something else going on that they are experiencing that we don't know. And coming in at number 1 is the Nevada Triangle. Consisting of vast stretches of the desert and the Sierra Nevada mountains, this triangular area in the Silver State has made headlines in recent years due to a disappearance that occurred in 2007. The victim was an aviator adventurer named Steve Fawcett who flew into the Nevada Triangle in a small plane and was never seen again despite the massive search for him. But he's not the only one, as many others have disappeared before him. Some 2,000 planes have been lost in the last 60 years. In this remotely populated area of more than 25,000 miles of mountain desert, many crashes are never found. Then, of course, Area 51 is there. With the area's close proximity to Area 51, it has led some theorists to speculate the presence of UFOs in the Nevada Triangle have been responsible for some of these disappearances.